I think my little feet are hooked on the back now. Okay, so that's good. All right. Well, that was fun. The laptop is a trooper. So a little bit about me. I'm looking to see if I see any familiar faces. Oh, hi, Jai. All right. So again, my name is Kate Buck. I go by Kate Buck Jr. That's my online name. No, I am not a junior. I made it up so you will remember who I am when you leave here. And after having been in this business for 13 years, so far it's working. In the beginning, I also had pink hair, so the two things combined were absolutely, people would never forget who I was. And so it was really awesome. So having a memorable brand, there's your first tip if you're trying to do this personal brand thing. But nonetheless, what I'm going to present to you tonight is what I call the Social Media Pro strategy. So I am the co-founder of Social Media Pro, and it is an online training program that I actually started under a different name in 2010. So I started training social media professionals, teaching them how like PC or whatever, do I need to not cuss, that kind of thing, or is it like internet marketing party rules? Okay, good. That I started back in 2010 when quite literally I was just making this shit up, like hanging out on Twitter, figuring out how to get people to do things, and then other people would ask me, what are you doing? And so I started teaching and training other social media professionals, and I've been doing it ever since. So I have a client side, an agency side as well, and over the last 3 years, we have partnered with a high-volume content marketing agency to provide social media strategies. And during that time, I have evaluated, audited, and created strategies for over 300 businesses. So what started to emerge from that in trying to get efficient, so that I could get them done quickly, also so that I could start training other people to do them, was I had to start really looking for like the key patterns that were happening across all the industries and things that I was saying like repetitively for all businesses that we were working with. So what you're going to get today is a very high-level overview strategically of the items that I saw that emerged, those patterns, and how I put them together to create effective social media strategies for my clients. I'll answer questions at the end. I won't really dive in too much down deep into the tactics. I think we all spend a lot of time thinking about tactics, and we read a lot about like little tactics or tricks that will get us an immediate result in a short period of time. And we really, usually when I'm auditing, one of the biggest things I see is that social media professionals and online marketers are putting together tactics that work well. Like I see solid videos or a good Instagram strategy or whatever it is, but there's no like overarching strategy in place. It's like we're posting memes, but why? We're posting quote posts, but why? Or we're doing Gary Vee style video with the banner across the top, but why? And there's no real methodical thought to it. And so hopefully tonight I'll be able to take you through that process. So that's enough of that little preamble. I hope that's what you thought you were coming for also. If you weren't, I think there's another meetup across the way. And I'm trying to AirPlay. Let's see. Maybe I'm on the wrong. Yes, hold on. I'm on the wrong network. So I'm going to switch. How many of you, this is your first time at AUSOME? Yeah? Okay. Wow. And then the rest of you, raise your hand. You've been before? Yeah. And Internet Marketing Party veterans also? Cool, and that's tomorrow night, right? All right, so we'll plug Internet Marketing Party tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the Speakeasy. It was my privilege to speak there. I've spoken there 3 times, and it's always like going home because that's where I actually launched my business and got my very first clients back in 2009. I also put this up here, and I'll stop talking about myself, I promise, in just a minute. But this is fun because I actually, when AUSOME became AUSOME, it used to be something else, I spoke at the launch event for AUSOME in 2012 in November. And it's actually quite funny because what I was talking about then was that welcome to the visual revolution. So we, up until that point, up until about 2011, maybe even late 2010, we had all been living on Twitter and text updates, and we had been spending a lot of time writing writing copy, and that was a big part of social media. And then all of a sudden, Instagram came a big deal. Later on in this presentation, we're like, wow, $1 billion, Facebook just acquired Instagram. And we started talking about the rise of the visual web. So how a social media manager the role of a social media manager and strategist was evolving, and now all of a sudden we had to be able to do graphics and design and all these other things because we could actually do them now on mobile devices. Now today I'm going to really stress to you the next revolution that we've seen, which is in video. So I thought that was just a cute little tie-in to what we're going to talk about tonight. All right. So let's fast forward from 2012 to, where do I press present? Why am I not seeing it? Oh, slideshow right here. Play from start. Or play from current view. Okay, so fast forward to me coming up with analyzing 300 businesses. So this presentation, there are other types of businesses, particularly the big one that I always feel like I've left off here is industrial, like B2B type companies, like if you're selling water pipes or water pumps to a building like manufacturer like this particular strategy that we're going to work on, it still does apply, but there are tweaks to it where there's a lot of variations that don't apply, so I don't include it in kind of this overview. The 4 types of businesses that I will really be focusing on in this strategy is if you're selling a digital product or a subscription. So, and I don't know, I kind of like to see who's in the room when I go through these. So if you have like an information product, an ebook, I'd even consider SaaS, anything where somebody doesn't have to get off the couch to both swipe their credit card and receive the product, right? So everything's digital there. So how many of you are in that category? Yeah, okay. Wow, not as many as I would have thought. Okay, next one, e-commerce, physical products. So I can swipe my credit card at home, but I have to wait for the box to come for my gratification. Okay, good. Local brick and mortar, I have to get off my couch and go somewhere to, yeah, okay, 1, 2, 3, okay, 4 maybe. And then virtual services is where you provide a service for other people, so you actually do, your product is that you do things. Okay, okay, good. Okay, so actually the biggest 2, you guys were mostly here in digital products and subscriptions or digital stuff, and then in physical products, e-commerce. So that's what will all apply. I'm going to breeze over this because I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about the know, like, and trust formula. But I want you to know that I've tried for 10 years to figure out another way to explain social media strategy to people. I used to have a 10-step process for social media strategy, and I had a 5-step process. And it really boils down to 3 steps, which pretty much are the know, like, and trust. So everyone has to make them fancy and have slides that are messed up, but you have to make them fancy and make them your own. So the way I like to think about this and the way I tie those to those objectives to social media metrics is grow, engage, invite. So first is audience growth metrics, awareness. Obviously, if people don't know who you are, you don't run an awareness campaign, or if your audience or following isn't growing, you're not bringing new eyeballs into the fold. You know, you're not gonna fail, right? Once you bring people into the fold, the next step is to engage them. So now that I have your attention, now I want to converse with you. I know this is 101, don't worry. We're gonna move on after this. And this is where I can build rapport, affinity, build a relationship with you. This is where all my content marketing really lives inside of here, all my blogs and all of that. And then once you trust, I like to call it invite because it made me feel better, warm and fuzzy when I was younger than like selling or conversion or some of those hard words. But invitation is basically where traffic and conversion comes in. This is where I'd say, great, you know, you've read our blog posts, you follow us on Twitter, whatever it is, would you like to insert here, whatever your objective is, buy my product, sign up for my email list, take whatever the next step to move into the funnel would be. So we're going to apply those 3 things to every stage, but before we can do that, When you're working with a client or for your business, I'm saying these are the three main components, which are first, branding. So you guys are going to get a little bit bummed with me because for the first half of this presentation, I'm not really even going to talk about social media. So when people come to me, they want social media, but I can't do my job in social until these other two things are in place. So first is branding, and I have about 6 components that I'm evaluating for every client before we can move forward with their social strategy to make sure that they're in place. The next and the biggest phase is usually a content marketing strategy. Content marketing has to come before social media, and that's where we see a lot of people implementing a social media tactic where they're like, oh, well, what you do is you post a quote or a picture and you share stuff from other people's profiles and you do all that, and it's mostly because people don't have their own internal content marketing strategy that they've developed. So I'm working first with my clients to do that, which means I have become much better at content marketing than I used to be, and much better than most social media managers or strategists are. And then lastly, we can move out to social. And the first thing we can do is distribute that content across all the social channels. We're going to employ that funnel that I just mentioned, the grow, engage, invite. You look confused. No? Okay. Just checking. I don't want to leave anybody behind or make anybody confused. And that social funnel is also going to include both an organic and a paid component because they go together, right? So in my agency, I'm the organic person. I know you guys are really shocked that I'm not a datas and number person. You can tell already. I'm the people person. I'm the content. I'm the social person. And I have a partner that is our paid person, but they do work together in concert, and you can't really do one without the other. Not that there's not instances that something doesn't take off organically by itself, but normally you either get like elbow grease and you get to earn your audience, or you use paid and you get to buy them, or somewhere in the middle where you borrow them from somebody else that has one. And so those two things, you need to understand how to put them together. So all in all, this is what we're going to rapid fire cover tonight so that you understand just what your punch list is looking for in each of these categories. Let's see. So the holistic approach does start with branding. I know that's far away and that one's small. I'll make my slides available. No worries. But branding consists of 2 components, both the visual aspects, the visual elements of the brand, and also the verbal elements of the brand. So you have a verbal identity that should be created, and you have a visual identity that should be created. If you haven't done this work, then you don't know what you're putting out on social at all to begin with. So you need to go back and do the work. Particularly, people like to think about branding as the visual identity, but they don't do the work in the verbal identity, which is all the mission and purpose. It's the tone and the personality of the brand. It's your do's and don'ts of words you would say and not say. Right? Like, who is the person, what is the personality or the character that is speaking through on the social channels? You'll find this ended up getting created for me because oftentimes I was training and passing it off to somebody else, or in the fun position of being a personal brand for somebody else, and I'd have to create verbal guidelines for myself so that I would know when I was working on a particular client account, what was the character that I was playing when I was on that account. A neutral, warm telephone operator, just very friendly, hi, and your posts are very monotone like that, is not really going to get a lot of engagement, right? That's kind of just monotonous and boring, and hopefully I'm not doing that. I just thought about that. That would be bad. But, right, so a lot of times controversy or having a position, right, and having a voice that you'll speak from. I give an example. I worked with Zoomies, the skate shop, and their verbal identity was that of the big brother. So their actual customer avatar were young men that were buying, or young boys that were buying their very first skateboard. And so they wanted the personality or the voice of their brand to be that of the big brother to the avatar. So we got to have a lot of fun and play on social media because we could actually treat the people like they were our little brothers. So we could kind of josh with them and pick on them a little bit and, razz their hair, so to speak, right? We got to have a lot of fun with it because that was really allowed in the personality with the verbal guidelines. I will just do another plug for Ree Perez, brandingforthepeople.com. He is here in town, and he's a branding agency for entrepreneurs. So if you haven't done this work, he's got great blog content. He also has, great services as a branding agency. So we send a lot of clients that come to us that haven't done this work over to Ree first to come back with guidelines for us, so that then I can put the assets together that I need to actually distribute on social. So very simply, just when you're doing an audit, just make sure everything is consistent across all of the profiles, including the visuals and the text, and that you have a bit of a personality and that you understand the voice of the brand. That's all I'll say about that, because I said a lot. The next phase I'm going to move into, which goes straight out of having done that work, is into my content research and content development, the whole content production phase. So in the first phase, I'm doing a lot of research, and that's because I want to know basically what this brand has done, what's working for them in the past. I think a lot of us are putting out, like we heard this tactic that you have to be publishing a blog post every week and writing a newsletter to your subscribers every week and posting new social media content like every week or every so often, right? Is that a common thing? Are you guys hearing that? Right, but we don't ever, so we're constantly in this creation mode, and we never really stop and go back and look at what some of our best shit was and just reuse it. So what we do, how I approach this is, my first thing when I'm working with a client is to go back. Rather than creating the forward plan, let me see what you've already done that people have really loved, and let me develop that into an evergreen plan that we can use. So for instance, right now I've been working with a nonprofit, and every year in September they have their biggest fundraiser of the year. So for the last 3 months they've been scrounging to figure out, well, what do we write about and how do we promote this thing? And I'm like, well, I don't know. You've been doing it for 10 years. Do you not have content that's worked in the past? Where's your bucket of images? And then every year when it's time for this to roll out this marketing plan, you just open the folder and start scheduling content, right? Update that blog post that already really worked really well. Use those images that were high impact last year. Create new stuff too, but really go backwards. So in that research, I'm looking for their top performing content. I'm hoping that it naturally leads to an entry point. So in other words, that content is priming the subscriber for the opt-in, usually sometimes called a content upgrade. So that same nonprofit, they created these, it's called Play for Peace, and they created these games that they do in really challenging areas of the world. They're in Guatemala, they're in Afghanistan, and they work with the kids there, and it's called Play for Peace. They do games, and they just try to transform the communities through games. So what they've done is they've productized some of these games, and now they're sharing those on their blog, but naturally leads to an entry point, meaning what can we offer them that makes sense from that blog post that somebody would opt in for. So I'm looking for those types of posts that support whatever the end objective is. And of course, if it can also satisfy an SEO objective, like this is also a keyword topic or something that we're trying to rank for, so that we can also support that effort with organic traffic, then that's a proven post that you want to pull out as a winner. Of course, you'll grab that from your Google Analytics. So you'll just hop in there, look at your lifetime analytics, and see what are the most popular posts. This is a little tool called Fan Page Karma. There's tons of tools out there. This one's called Fan Page Karma, and I can see over time across different brands what type of content and which brands were the best. So I can pull this for, again, across brands, across different profiles, but also it would say video, and actually show me the content that had done really well. I'm sorry? I'm often looking at reach, but I'm also looking at engagement. I mean, again, if I was doing a cross matrix, I would have it do well in reach and engagement, but also would definitely have to do well in traffic. So sometimes they don't obviously do well in all three, and so when you look at the funnel that I'm going to show you, there's one objective that is growth, one that is engagement, and one that is traffic. So if you found a piece of content that was really strong in engagement, I'd plug it into my engagement campaigns. If it was really strong in growth, I'd mark that one down and keep it as part of growth campaigns, and same thing with traffic campaigns. Yeah, good question. Obviously, I dive deep into their audience insights as well. I'm just really trying to pull data from, well, that was weird. Go back. Anyways, it's literally just a screenshot of audience insights. I love audience insights. I can see what other pages the fans are liking. I get an idea of the content that they're consuming. I can go to those pages and actually see the most engaged content. This is also really effective on Instagram. Who else are they following? What content are they putting out? What content are they consuming from some of the big brands in that industry? So this was this is a brand that was an organic, like all natural menopause product for women. And so I was able to see like they're reading Mind Body Green. They watched The Big Bang Theory, thought that was fun. They're following Power of Positivity, Home Goods, The Pioneer Woman, right? And so now I know like all recipes. So now, not surprisingly, and natural news. So not surprisingly, I know they're kind of spiritual. They also Humans of New York, so human interest stories would be interesting for my page. Life lessons learned in life, lessons over 50. Oh, now I can create content around tips and wisdom from fab over 50 type stuff. They're into food. They're into like positive content, happy, share-worthy content, peaceful mind, peaceful life, meditation content, all of this just because I looked at their audience insights. I could fill an editorial calendar for a year with that information. Home goods too, forgot about that. So how to decorate. Like I'd take actually all this audience insights and I would totally build a Pinterest profile, right? Like all of that stuff all this is nothing but Pinterest boards to me. When I look at that, like this audience is on Pinterest. Anyways, that's the first time I actually said that part. So my other favorite place to consume content, and there's some like weird animations that I didn't realize were built in here. BuzzSumo. So you can plug your keyword into the BuzzSumo tool and it'll tell you for that keyword what the articles are that have been shared the most. And you can sort by shared, so there's some good engagement ideas. And so I'm just looking to see who's really ranking with keywords for that's getting shared on social for the keywords that they're trying to rank for. I do some basic keyword research. I worked with a content marketing agency that did these SEO plans. They are experts. I am not, but I like to do reverse lookup to see what my client is ranking for and what their top competitors are ranking for. And I use SEMrush. I used to use Word Tracker, but they've disabled that part of the tool for some reason. For now. And when I do that, I come up with like really high-level keywords that will probably take a while for them to rank for, some intermediate keywords, and then like keywords that have decent volume of traffic but low competitiveness. These are the first articles that we would begin writing topics. These would be the second ones, and then those would be later on in the strategy, because these have low competitiveness and those have medium competitiveness, and then obviously everyone's fighting for those keywords. But my other favorite tool in this strategy and in the research phase is called Answer the Public. Are you guys familiar with this tool? Yes, okay, a couple people. You plug in your keyword and it gives you a bunch of questions. This is a pinwheel that says like who, what, when, where, why, how, and all the questions that are being asked with your keywords. So these are from voice command, when people are talking to like Siri and Alexa. Search is starting to evolve a little bit because people will, when they're talking to something, they actually ask the question instead of going to Google and they type in like, beer bar near me or whatever. We don't speak that way. I guess near me is actually kind of closer to conversation. But how digital marketing is changing the sports industry, how digital marketing adds value. I have this on my laptop. Why am I acting like a dork? Right, again, just from these questions right here, whenever anybody tells me that they don't know what to do a Facebook Live about, they don't know what to write a blog post about, they have no idea what to create YouTube content about, all I need to know are their keywords. And if you did nothing else that I did before this, you just plug them in to Answer the Public and get these diagrams, get these topics, and your content calendar is filled for a month, a year, 5 years. So yeah, so we're good up to there. So I now have come up with a decent plan anyway. So I'm going to start with finding the best content out of all of that stuff, and then, you know, my brain will just, that's the part where, you know, I take all that data and put it together into a plan, and we start actually moving into content production. Now, video. So all content, in my opinion, right now should start with video. It seems like, it reminds me of 15 years ago when everybody was like, what do I need a website for? I don't need a website. And then all of a sudden they're like, shit, I don't have a website, but I don't need a Twitter account. Twitter's stupid. I'm not going to get a Twitter account. Now everybody's like, I gotta have a Twitter. I don't need to have a Facebook page. I have a website. Or now it's the other way around. I don't need a website because I have a Facebook page. And then some ClickFunnels or lead pages or something, right? But now it's video, and this is the part where I think most people are struggling because it's time consuming. It's possibly can be expensive for all the post-production, but it's really, really important because it's what people are engaging with, right? It's just a trend, and it's not going to slow down as people move into consuming their visual content online versus cable or TV or whatever you want to call it. So like for instance, I'm in this process right now with one of my clients where I just finished their content plan. And so he's coming into my studio on Friday, and we're going to shoot 4 videos. So we've got 4 weeks worth of content, and we'll do that 1 time per month. Shoot 4 videos, and then those will all go and get edited so that we have consistent weekly content coming out. This is really important because if you're going to venture into this area, you need to come up with a regular schedule for when people can expect that your video content is going to come out, particularly like on YouTube, or if you're, you know, I'll tell you later, you can turn this into a podcast or something. Excuse me. Because if you step away from your regular schedule, what happens is people go elsewhere to consume that content and you lose them. So much like people are used to setting their DVR at a certain time, you know, the show comes on every Thursday at 7, whenever Friends is, the rerun or whatever, that they're programmed, yeah, humans are programmed to be waiting for a piece of content, or that they know that when they open their YouTube, you know, their recommended videos or new releases from your subscribers, like your face needs to be there. And it needs to be there regularly. So just keep that in mind, that when you're doing this, you want it to be, you don't want to start and then, you know, get through and not have a regular distribution schedule. I also like for people that what's the word? You know, if they're apprehensive about doing produced video, I like to just stick a camera and a microphone in their face and tell them to do a Facebook Live. So you could also just start with Facebook Live. There's something about just the magic of putting yourself on the spot and forcing yourself to create that content, whereas setting up a studio and getting the perfect lights, like a lot of times we think that we're holding off because we're doing it the right way, but in reality what we're actually doing is just procrastinating, getting it done. So flip up the camera, put on a microphone, show up, and just start talking. It'll at least help you get past those first hurdles of just doing it. And if you're a subject matter expert or whatever it is that you're selling, if you have a spokesperson or, you know, whatever, then just get them to talk about the product. Give them those topic ideas that you created in your content marketing strategy, some bullet points, and let them go. Other tips that I have for you around this is that it's really important that you don't start with like an introduction or a logo intro or, you know, some sort of like teaser or what did they call those when it was TV, like the come on, knock on my door, that thing, the jingle. You don't want that. You need to go straight into the content and with a really strong hook. You have about 3 seconds or less to capture their attention. And people get really excited about their video views that they're getting on Facebook, but usually they're looking at the 3 to 10 second video views. And then I had a client where she was really happy with her video views, but didn't understand why she wasn't getting traffic to her website from those views. But her logo intro was 10 seconds, and we were looking at 10-second video views. So people were dropping off before she even got to the content. Is it quick? Yeah, go ahead. After the hook, absolutely. Yeah, and so hook, if you want to do a quick thing to transition and then you restate the problem, give them the solution and then do your outro with your subscribe here, whatever your calls to action are. That's the easy formula for all your media creation. So from that YouTube Live, you can split it. So the whole idea is that one piece of video content is now going to create the rest of the content in the strategy. So if you wanted to, you could strip the audio and turn that into a podcast. And then if it was from Facebook Live, you could also edit it up a little bit and shape it up and put it on YouTube as well. Or you could just produce for YouTube, either way. That piece of video content, yes ma'am. Oh. Grab the attention, restate the problem, explain your solution, call to action. Yep. Great hooks like, I don't know, I'm thinking of infomercial. Actually, when I'm talking about hooks, my favorite thing is the Ron White joke about, are you naked on a beanbag chair eating Cheetos? That's a good hook, right? Because if you're talking to your target audience that is possibly naked on a beanbag chair eating Cheetos, aka they're stoners, then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, is he talking to me? Like, are you in my house? Do you know who I am? And you have their attention. So your hook is really like your call out to them to grab their attention. And it also disqualifies people that you're not talking to, right? Because I can immediately go, well, no, I'm not naked on beanbag chair eating Cheetos. You guys got to Google it if you don't know who Ron White is and you haven't heard that joke. It's hilarious. It's a great marketing joke. He's not trying to tell a marketing joke, but it's a great one. I should have it in here and then play it. It's from the blue collar comedy thing, whatever. Anyways, if you haven't noticed, I kind of think I'm funny. I get it that you guys aren't totally on board with my humor, but it's okay because I'm entertained and I'm hopefully giving you good information too, so it's a win-win. But hooks are super, super important right now. And I tell you, like, I'm not a copywriter and I'm spending a lot of time writing hooks as a marketer. Like, as a social media person, again, just the evolution. I used to just be able to write catchy little 140 character tweets. Now we're into like really long copy on Instagram that tells a story and it's almost like a sales letter and you go into the hero's journey and then you have the solution, like that little thing I gave you about hook, restate the problem, give them the solution, call to action. That's also your Instagram caption, like write that's what you're writing on Instagram as well. So, you guys, if you didn't know, we have moved into the entertainment industry. We're marketing products, but we have moved into the entertainment industry. You're either inspiring people, you're educating them, or you're entertaining them. And if you're not doing one of those three things, then they're not paying attention to you. Because nobody opened Facebook today or Instagram or Twitter to find out about what product they could buy. They went to be entertained. They went to get inspired and get away from the problems of their life, right? Maybe they went to find out some information. Maybe. But usually they're not there for that, but then we, insert ourselves into their news feed. And then they're like, oh, I did need to know that. So, all right, so that video, you can get it transcribed. A lot of people use rev.com for transcriptions. There's also Otter, OTTER.ai is free transcription of videos. And then you want to shape that up into a nice blog post and embed your video in the blog post. Seems redundant, but people like to consume content differently, so go ahead and give them their options. Yeah. No. Yeah, I'm sorry. The screenshot's not there. There's a blog post. Headline, video, hook. Are you insecure and in resistance to yourself? I don't know. I'm not sure. Right. Sorry, I thought he was talking to me for a second. Just write the blog post. Yeah, I see some people doing this like show notes sometimes. If you are doing a podcast, you could just do show notes. But if you're in traditional, you've been writing blog posts, take the transcription and just use it to help you write a good post. But yeah, put the Put the thing right there. I saw somebody, James Schramko posted today, like, do you listen to audio or video podcasts? And there's so many people watching podcasts on video on YouTube, you know, so it's much more engaging. Audio puts me to sleep. Video, I stay engaged. So in the blog post too, one thing I didn't have, it should have been on the next slide, is obviously there's a call to action at the end of the blog post for the content upgrade, or there's an ad in the blog post that links to your product, something like that, right? There's some call to action in the post. I mean, I guess I said obviously, but maybe it's not. Once it's in a post, so it went video, it went blog post, now we finally get to talk about social media. Yay, what you came for. Now I need to create it into the assets to share out to whatever platform I've chosen. You don't need to be everywhere, so if that was your question, or like the when do you post and all that, I'm not gonna answer those. But like I do think that you need to be choosy with what you're doing. I'll tell you my personal strategy and kind of how we're gonna go through here is that I do use Facebook first most of the time. Sometimes Instagram first, sometimes Pinterest first, but almost as a rule, because what I like to do, I think what I call dialing in the strategy, like getting the funnel that we're going to talk about in just a second really dialed in, is easier on Facebook, and then I can take it to another ad platform, right? So Pinterest has a pretty robust ad network. Obviously, LinkedIn does. Instagram, and Twitter as well, but if I just personally can dial it in on Facebook really well. The audience insights are robust. You get a lot of data, a lot of information. Dial in the funnel there, and then you move it to another platform, because now you're creating new content. So like get one platform down and then build the other. Don't try to do all of these all at once. It's really hard. If it's not hard for you, and I just said that, I'm really glad, but I think that most people are trying to tackle too many things at once. So when I'm thinking about, so I've picked, so in this case, we're going to use Facebook as the example, but every time I say that, you could imagine that I'm saying whatever platform, we're going to now employ the grow, engage, invite on that platform. So to the question about what types of content, there are different types of content for each stage, right, of that funnel. So grow posts are really very top of the funnel posts. This is why, even though we're tired of seeing them probably as people that are on social media all the time, but quote posts are so important, is because they are to like a quote post is a very low level of commitment from a passerby, and that's why it works really well for audience growth. So for example, in my all natural menopause client, you know, we really ran a long time with this quote that said like, keep calm, I'm having a hot flash, because it starts to identify, somebody that likes that post, it starts to identify them in our market. They don't have to be attached to any product or anything yet. We haven't asked them for any kind of commitment like that, but we've gone from our targeting, which was really wide, to like all women over 45, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was 42. To now, they've self-selected them into a market and started to create a smaller audience bucket of saying, raising their hand literally and saying, yes, I'm having hot flashes, or yes, even just, you know, I think this is funny. It just starts to identify them as a member of the market. So that's why we like meme posts. That's why it's not just about posting those memes or quotes or whatever. It's actually strategically placed to like it's kind of like lure bait that you throw out into the ecosystem and see what you get. Also making those animated, so back to video. And obviously I'm pulling sometimes those quotes, I'm pulling the golden nuggets straight out of the video, straight out of the blog post. So if it's a business client and they're creating a training on a video, I'm going through and looking for where they say, logo doesn't make a brand, you know, some kind of like statement that I can pull out and put on a quote card. I can animate it, you know, lots of apps and stuff that you can do that kind of stuff with. So this isn't like all of a sudden now I'm talking to you about pulling new content. I'm literally still talking about that video that that we just created. Now I'm making it into social content. Let's see. Trust assets are the conversion mechanism. So those are your offers, your coupons, your discounts, your call to action, your freebies, your offers. And then the like content grow, that should say engage. See, I told you I was a little messy, Anna. That should say engage content, but in the middle is the actual videos, like where it's a little bit longer, a little more content, a little bit more description, right? We're diving a little bit deeper. So they've not just raised their hand and said, yes, I have hot flashes. Now they're interested in like the top 5, what is this called? Material of shirts, you know, for that to keep you cool or something. We're starting to dive a little bit deeper into, you know, the best foods to eat if you're having hot flashes. Now I've got them a little bit more committed. I know a little bit more about them. I know they're a little more invested in this than just a meme or a quote post. And so that's what moves them down to this level of the funnel. And I can even begin to introduce them to my product here. And then over here is where I make the ask. Let me show you what this looks like. I'm going to skip forward to one of my favorite examples from my good friends over at Digital Marketer. Gosh, I feel like I might as well be in the NASCAR of tonight, because I'm like, everybody's getting plugged. This is an example of the grow post, right? The drive-by engagement post that seemingly doesn't make any sense, but we now understand is the bait. Moving over into these 2 posts, we're moving into engagement, conversation, information. So the next video this is a little 30-second to 1-minute clip called 5 of the top blog post ideas and many more, which led them to a blog post called The Ultimate List of Blog Post Ideas. Notice it was the 2nd edition. It was originally published in 2015, and so this is also an example of an evergreen campaign that about once a year, I think usually in 2nd quarter, that Digital Marketer employs as part of their list building strategies, which then there is a call to action at the bottom and an ad in the middle of that post to go download an ebook called The Ultimate List of Blog Post Ideas. Not a shocker if you Google blog post ideas, they are like number 2 or 3. So this content naturally leads to a funnel point. It supported their SEO efforts, so it was a high volume keyword, and they did it over time. Blog post ideas has a lot of competitiveness, and it's high volume but high competitiveness, so they ran this funnel over time, and now they rank like number 1, 2, 3, somewhere in there for blog post ideas. So the idea is that you're going to post this piece of content, and then you're going to boost it. We're going to talk about who to boost it to. Then you're going to retarget the people who engaged with this post to take them to this content. And the people who engage with this content, you retarget them again to get them to here. Does that make sense? Do you guys know what retargeting is? Yes, everyone knows what retargeting is. Okay, good. Wow. We are in 2019. So that's what this slide says. Boost your content and then retarget. So retarget engagement audiences, people who watch videos, people who visit your website, people who engage with your Facebook page or your Instagram profile. Those are basically the warmest people. So I like to start from the bottom. So when I'm boosting content, I start with my retargeting audiences of people that have already engaged with me. I guess that would also include like if I uploaded my email list or my buyers list, something like that, and created any lookalike audiences as well, right? That would be the next level. Warm targets would be any brands I've been associated with, any place. Like for me, I have engaged with Digital Marketer, so some of their fans know, or people that follow them know who I am. I've spoken at Traffic and Conversion, etc. So my warm target for me are where I'm looking for associated audiences that I can put into my interest list. And then cold targeting is literally where you're like, she's this old, she lives here, she, or he, whatever. Does that make sense? So I'm going to start first by boosting here. When I've exhausted some of these lists, I might open it up, and then I'll open it up, and then finally I'll go there. So we kind of start at the bottom. That almost is like a funnel. This is the smallest audience, but it's also the warmest and the cheapest, and then we go up to the widest. That really is actually the funnel. So if I go back here, I've started with a video. they actually do, sorry, so I should do it this way. They actually do have a YouTube video as well. So they have a great video, great blog post that go together. That blog post, I don't know if they embedded that media, but they do have a YouTube video. That's where it started. They created a blog post. Then they created a smaller 1-minute video from that. It's a little animated post. And then they created some like bait posts with the I Love Marketing and a few other pieces of content as well. And that's how you come up with the funnel. Pretty easy. Yeah. So again, what I'm seeing a lot is people like, oh, well, we're writing blog posts, and oh, we're making little 2-minute videos, and oh, we're posting memes, or we're doing whatever, and oh, please go to our website and join our email list for whatever reason. But they haven't quite put it together in the way that actually flows and makes sense. And usually you actually start from the end and work your way back around, which is why I like to start with the big, bulky piece of YouTube content first. From there, I create, this is a sample distribution calendar for a client that's only posting 3 times a day. And essentially, all I'm trying to get across here is that I share that post all week long in different ways on different platforms, right? So I share that post across the different platforms all week long, and then I also share our evergreen content, so I keep a bucket of things that are just good for us to use anytime, but mostly we keep a focus that whole week on whatever that theme is. And like, for instance, with a lot of clients, I'm coming up with a theme for the month, so we're doing like the client that's coming to record on Friday, we're doing a 4-week series. So recording those 4 blog posts or 4 videos at once, and they're thematic. So I think that when we're switching topics all the time, trying to keep it interesting, I don't think people are following the thought pattern. So I implemented this for a yoga teacher friend recently, and she was one day posting about back pain, and the next day posting about sciatica, and the next day posting about neck pain, and or whatever. And I was like, why don't you focus on the month and have a back pain month where all of your content is about back pain for that month, and then the next month let's switch to a different pain point for your audience. Literally, haha, that was funny. That was a pun. You guys. All right, so it actually really transformed her the depth that her clients are going with her into her content. And the reason is because you have time to develop those pain points with them, right? You have time to really talk to them about where it is in their body, she was really that they're suffering, and all the different things that you could do before she was jumping off to the next topic. So you really get to develop that relationship and rapport with them and go deeper with them on your subject matter when you're not hopping around from topic to topic, either on a daily or I think even on a weekly basis. So key metrics, not shocking. Growth. Oops, I just hit myself in the mouth. Engagement, traffic, conversion, right? That's it. Very simple. Is my audience growing? And I talked to probably 2 potential clients this week, and they're like, all our social media manager cares about is our followership growing, and we don't care anything about that. And I'm like, I get it. You don't care about that. All you care about is this. But I need to bring new people in to the top of the funnel all the time, so we need to make sure that it's growing for that reason. Engagement, that they're deepening their relationship with the brand, and then we're inviting and or giving traffic to our offers, to our website, to our blogs, our landing pages. And this thing about leads and sales, as a social media professional anyway, and I know I've kind of talked to you guys as if you do my job, and you might be doing this for yourself. I don't know if you work at an agency, if it's your business, but there's so many variables here that, I think of myself as like a tour guide almost. So I come over here in social media with my sign, and I'm like, hey, you guys having some back pain? Let's talk about it a little bit. Let's get intimate with it. And then, oh, by the way, you might want to check something out. This game is a whole different game. This game is called copy, design, right? Nurture sequences, all kinds of stuff. And so even though I think it's important to measure this stuff so that we know that everything's working, usually if there's a breakdown when we get to this point, it's not something that I can completely control. I mean, I can if they let me, but a lot of social media people, can't or don't. So what this means is that whatever your offer is not working to that audience. So you either need to go back. So you need to go back to the beginning, which brings me home to branding. Either your message or your offer or your target audience is off, which means you need to go home to branding and then start this whole sequence, all over again. So if growth is good, meaning people, the audience likes our content and they're following us, and engagement is good, they're sharing, they're reading, they're watching videos, and they're clicking our links, but then nothing's happening, right? Then either I'm picking up the wrong people for you, or your offer is off, or maybe your copy needs work or something like that, right? And so don't always go blaming your social media for that, that this part didn't work. If you're getting traffic there and it's the right audience, then obviously start optimizing from the end. Let's see. I think that's about the high level stuff. This is really funny. I don't know what happened to my PowerPoint, but we'll now have questions. I'll take some questions. There is a copy. I actually was going to change this. I did this presentation at Social Media Week ATX, but I actually meant to change this because you can just watch it on YouTube. So it's on my YouTube channel. That's Kate Buck Jr. I think that opt-in might still be up there, but that's not. I meant to just tell you to go to YouTube and watch it, and then I will give the slides to Anna, who will somehow make them available to the meetup group. So. Yeah, we can put that away. Yeah, questions? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right. The Pitch Fest continues. I love Agora Pulse. That's the tool that I use. It's called Agora Pulse. They are the tool that we use in-house. If you're just trying to get by on the cheap, Hootsuite is awesome, and it will totally do the trick. 3 profiles, free. Will work on Pinterest, YouTube, LinkedIn. Not YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. One of the 3 of those 4 absolutely works great. I like a little bit more robust, I like the metrics and everything, so I use Agora Pulse. Another tool that I really love, and it's what I used before I switched to Agora Pulse, is CoSchedule, called CoSchedule. The thing that's beautiful about CoSchedule is if you use WordPress, it integrates really well, so when you publish a blog post, it already pulls it into the dashboard, so you just have to click that and then blog post and then schedule it out if you're doing it like as link posts. It also has this cool tool called, which you're probably looking for, called Requeue, which is once I publish something, if I want it to be scheduled, if I want it to continuously go out like in the future, I can drop it into a bucket of evergreen content, and I can say, okay, my evergreen content buckets are Monday mornings and Tuesday nights, and when, or my favorite is the weekends, right? Because if you don't publish on the weekends, you will see, you'll have worked really hard to like get your engagement up, and then it will dip, and then you start all over, and it's like that. What's that man on, that's a game on The Price is Right, where it's the mountain man and he, you don't want him to fall off. You guys know that game, right? So it reminds me of. So you got to publish on the weekends. So I make my little evergreen holes a lot on the weekends, just so it'll say, go into my bucket of evergreen content. I don't care what's in there. I've pre-approved this entire bucket. And in these windows, just pick what's next and post it. Do not worry that you think that, at this point in time, we have all seen the same quote or the same thing, like 100 times we see it across different places. So there's no concern about like, oh, my audience is gonna know that they saw it before. There's like a month's worth of content in that evergreen bucket nobody is gonna remember. So that's where you put that evergreen, like your best stuff. Like if it gets engagement, if it gets shares, if it gets whatever, put it in that bucket and then mark those buckets for Requeue. Yeah, so I like CoSchedule for that reason. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
About multi-streaming versus just doing like one Facebook Live
I'm totally a fan of streamlining, right, and being efficient. So I think that multi-streaming is great. I barely kept up just talking to you guys, doing one thing at a time and managing the slides. So like if I'm doing it, I have to have somebody talking to other, paying attention to the comments and all of that stuff. So if you can manage it, great, go ahead. But yeah, multi-streaming is fine if you have the audience there, or if you're just trying to build an audience somewhere but focus on one platform where you do have an audience. I mean, yeah, go for it. What my concern is with repurposing and multi-streaming or whatever is that, in the past there was this theory that you could just like create content for one platform and then push it out everywhere, and it was like, oh, if it didn't fit, no one cared. But it does matter. So I do think like when I'm getting, I should have put it in here. When I start with the brand, I'm getting templates made and things that I can repurpose in 3 sizes. So, and even more so these days, guys, which is the 3 sizes are square, I'm getting ahead of myself, vertical and horizontal, but almost now I'm not even really using horizontal all that much at all. A little bit for Twitter because it just fits nicely if I want something in the center, or I'll do a square and then you gotta just make sure it's lined up properly. But if you follow the trends right now, we're really moving to vertical. Square for sure. Even Facebook a couple months ago put out a notice that said they were advising advertisers to move to square. If you're asking me why, when you scroll the news feed, the real estate that you have is vertical. So if you want the person to stop and engage with your content, there wouldn't be anything to distract them above or below it, and a vertical piece of content will take up all the real estate on their screen. A square piece of content will take up more than a horizontal piece. So you want to actually start moving your formats, and I know this wasn't exactly your question, but it sparked me on a tangent. Yeah, and you'll even see on everybody's favorite influencer, Gary V's page, that his videos are this like in between square and vertical, because that means they look good in stories, which stories are really, really important right now. They're getting about 3 times the reach and engagement than timeline content when done properly. So vertical content is super, super important right now. And if you are doing square, you're safe. But you want to start moving towards vertical content instead of like horizontal. I hope you know what I mean when I say that. Except YouTube, of course. Got to create a really nice horizontal, 16 by 9 or whatever video for there. Yes? Can I get water? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So many tools out there, so many tools. I'm using one called, all right, so I'll start with the length question actually. Video length. Yes, longer does work. That stat was particularly about Facebook Lives, because here's what happened. People get on, they talk for 5 minutes, and they hang up, and it's a live. It hasn't even had time to saturate in the news feed yet for anybody to come on and watch it. So Facebook Lives, I'm recommending that people stay on for 15 minutes. That's enough time that actually someone, a good portion of their audience could come and log on and see it, at least their most active audience. And don't look at me like that, like people don't check their Facebook every 15 minutes. Especially not in this room, right? But just hopping on and saying something and doing a little 5-minute piece is just not enough. So a part of the repurposing is part of the repurposing to the streaming question is like on a Facebook Live, you would do a long preamble because you're waiting for people to join. So you continuously say the hook and you welcome people to the thing, and more people are coming on so that you don't, you got a good couple minutes to like let people get on. But if you do that on YouTube, like they're gone. So you got to edit and chop that off before you put it on YouTube. On YouTube, you need to go straight into the content or they're off to the next thing. So that's an example of not just simply repurposing, or even if you're streaming live on YouTube, yes, but if you're going to leave it up there as an evergreen piece of content, no one wants to listen to, like I did when I got here, no one wants to listen to that online. You guys had to suffer with it because you came and sat, but otherwise people would have clicked off. So, so that's what I mean about length. particularly around lives. I think that's appropriate for all lives. If you're going to do it, commit to doing a live for 15 minutes. Now, as far as lengths are concerned, I'm doing 5 to 10 minutes on YouTube on a topic, so that's the part where you really get to explore in depth, but really the answer is don't force it to be that long. Just talk as long as, you know, as you need to cover the subject. Then we're cutting it down to different pieces. So I like less than 5 minutes, sweet spot around 3 minutes for a produced video that I might be putting on Facebook. 1 minute for if you're doing Instagram timeline, you can do longer on IGTV. So it really just depends on where you're putting it as to what the length should be. But I mean, I think that good 5, 10, 15 minutes when you're creating that original piece of content is enough that then later you can go pull out the nuggets from it. And you should be able to get 3 to 5 little snippets of good one-liners that you've made that can then go in a quote post, which isn't a video, or you can just shorten it to the 30 seconds to 1 minute of your delivery of that golden nugget. And honestly, you kind of want to think about that when you're doing, you know, when you're creating the content, is being articulate in some places and even pausing before and pausing after so you make an easy edit. Now, the editing process, there are tools. So like I had a client the other day send me some videos. I threw it into, I mean, this is embarrassing. I threw it into ScreenFlow, which is not a video, you know, I don't know. It's not one of the big ones, but I just chopped off the front and the end, got the little 30-second, 1 minute nugget that I needed, and then I used this little tool called Video Wrapper, WAPR, to put the stuff at the top and the bottom. But there's tons of ones out there. That's just one that they was a AppSumo something, or they caught me in the news feed and I bought it and used it so that I can take the horizontal video and make it square. Another tactic for recording video is that if you make sure that you're vertically placed, or if you're doing the video yourself, even though it's a wide shot, it's very easy to cut it into a vertical video or a square video if there's like not stuff, you know, if you're not in a weird, or if there's room. So I'm making sure that my clients are strategically placed so that if I cut just narrowly that I could have a vertical video, or if I gave a little bit of room, like I could have a square. But I have an editor in-house that's doing that, and there are tools to make animated ones as well. Slidely is one that I've used. If you're not doing it yourself and you just want to create like animations that have templates in there. Slidely, I've also used Wave app. Those are probably the two I'm most familiar with. And then as far as the graphics are concerned, I'm using both Canva and a really cool little tool called Trello, which makes little animated graphics. I'm sorry, did I say Trello? I meant Crello, C-R-E-L-L-O. I also use Trello, but Crello, C-R-E-L-L-O. I have a subscription to like $10 a month, $15 a month to Envato Elements, where I can download all kinds of stock video, photo, icons, whatever, and use that to make things. But I also, I'm really highly recommending everybody go find themselves an intern who likes to edit video, and pay them for 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week to just cut all this stuff up and do it for you. I really wouldn't try to do it yourself. I mean, if you love doing it, do it, but it's time consuming. Like what camera? Okay, so I have a studio set up in my house with Applewhite backdrop. It's lit on both sides, from the front, in the front, and one behind my chair. I sit on a chair or have a table sometimes in front of me, and then 2 ring lights in the front. And the camera that we're using is the Sony A Mark 7, something like that, the mirrorless Mark 7 III, something like that. It's the current fave for the Sony mirrorless. It's Fantastic camera. I absolutely love it. Shoots in 4K. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Clients right now who travel a lot, do speaking engagements. We can't always afford to have a production crew with them to get this type of video.
Uh-huh.
What are some creative ways you would suggest that can capture that video content that we utilize?
Uh-huh. I forgot to mention also always external mic. Yeah, audio for audio. So they only go by themselves? Can they take a tripod? Can you get them to take a tripod and put an iPhone on it in the back? Because iPhones still, I mean, especially the new ones, right? You can shoot 4K. That's not an option?
I guess it just depends on the convention and what the rules are.
How do you get content when he goes and speaks and no one goes with him?
It's usually just transcript based.
I would have him mic up and put his iPhone in his pocket, mic himself up, at least get a voice recording. You guys know what an audiogram is? So an audiogram is where you're kind of doing reverse of what I just showed you, where like you're taking a podcast, you take the audio, you put it on top of a flat image, and you're publishing it as a video for YouTube, but it has that little wavelength to keep people engaged where it's talking, right? Like as they're talking, it's going like this. I have an example. It's called an audiogram. Google it. Right? So if you could get audio from him, you could at least work with that. That would be fantastic. And then he doesn't have to get approval from anyone. There definitely also look up, though, because there's a special adapter that you need for the external mic to work in the iPhone. Because if you just plug in, the microphone won't work, so you need this little adapter. It's called a TRRS or something. You need the Lightning to TRRS adapter. I just learned that this week.
So my understanding is that at each stage you should do some kind of A/B testing and experiment different strategies, which one works, and we just optimize each stage.
Sure. Yeah, so I just try to do it like week by week. So I'm not going to split test this whole process every week against another version of this process at the same exact time. I'm just going to like try this process when it's this piece of content, and then next week I might schedule it on Tuesday instead of Monday, like based on data, move stuff around and just continuously optimize like the same flow. Like you saw my sample schedule. I'm going to look at the data at the end of the week, and then I'm going to make any changes based on, like for instance, I know that Tuesdays and Fridays are the most active days on social media, so those are my usual days to release video, like a big long form piece of video. So I've optimized that based on data. I've changed it around, but like if I wanted to know right now, like maybe it might do better on a Wednesday or something, then the next week I'd release on a Wednesday and see if that does better, and if so, I'd try it again and look for some anomalies. It's too much. I mean, it's too much to do to be split testing every single piece of content that you put out. For split testing every piece of the content every way? Well, I optimize on the part we didn't dive into, which is on the boosting. I mean, that's really easy, the boosting and the retargeting. So on the ads, you can do A/B split testing very easily when I'm boosting content. So I might split test like an image post with a link versus a link post, or a video post that links to the blog post, right? So I might test those differently to see which one of those respond better. But if I'm doing that kind of like testing that I want to know what's doing well quickly, I would do it on the back end within the ads manager. I mean, organically you could put out two pieces. I don't know. I do it basically like a week at a time. If I want to change something, then I'll change my organic distribution schedule the next week and try it, and I'd look to see over time which one was more effective. Yeah. Maybe someone else has a better idea, but that's the answer that I have for that. I don't know. Yeah. Good.
Or a solopreneur who's already wearing
Yep.
maybe doesn't have
Yep. Yep.
Does it make sense to double down on one?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I said. Start with Facebook. Unless maybe your audience, like, what's your business?
It's marketing, consulting, product launches.
Yeah. So you could do this. You just pick. I always say dial it in on one platform before you extend to another. So pick the one that you think is best. Start there. I like Facebook because I like the ads manager there. So I dial in my funnel on Facebook, and then if I want to move to another platform, I absolutely will. If not, just go to one. Absolutely. I think we're in an age of overwhelm, and I don't think we need to be on every platform. Most marketing people are on all of them because there's a perception that they need to be on all of them. But wherever I mean, if where's your audience?
It's interesting that conversations definitely Facebook and the groups, like
Oh yeah, absolutely. Groups. Yeah.
I feel like it's much easier to sort of get the word out content-wise on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah. LinkedIn's a sleeper right now. I mean, so if you wanted my tried and true, I usually give two recommendations. One is like experience, best practice. You think of it like the stock market, it's your low risk stuff. I would say stay on Facebook. LinkedIn is a silent sleeper. If you were up for playing a game of wild cards, I would say double down on LinkedIn because it's trending really well. Same thing like with Instagram right now, like it's trending on engagement and traffic for like e-commerce, and all of that. So if you said that, but yeah, I would say take the leap and start double down on LinkedIn and with video. I have a lot of colleagues that are doing very well with video on LinkedIn. So I would recommend that. Yeah. Yeah, we're doing more and more for our clients on LinkedIn. So, yeah. Yeah. The comments become part of the content. What do you mean? Oh, well, it absolutely is. Always. As long as they're saying something meaningful. Yeah, it's important to manage the comments. My analogy that I use is like when you release content and then if somebody comments, it's like then you're not there, or because you're just doing scheduling, or your social media person isn't there. It's like when you know that person that's in your life that when you're with them, they always have their phone in their hand, but then like later that week or something, you text them and it takes them like 24 hours to get back to you. Right? I mean, I don't know, maybe I live too much in this world, but, right, like, the response, it needs to be real time. You need to try to reply in as much real time as you can, and that's why one of these tools that we mentioned, like, that's why I like Agora Pulse, is because it's not just scheduling, it's also got engagement. Particularly on Instagram, comments and now also saves are absolutely some of the most important metrics that you can be looking at. So Instagram, one of the things that they're really optimizing for that you can tell is meaningful social interaction. So that means it's not even a comment that's just an emoji or one or two words or whatever. They're actually looking for dialogue. So that was why that little formula I gave and doing the call to action at the end with asking people to tell you their story, share the last time they went on vacation, tell you about their dog, whatever it is that you have to ask them to tell you in the comments to get dialogue going will boost your get you in the news feed on Instagram faster than everything except advertising. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And you're the brand, and you're saying when people comment and they're just tagging their friends. Yeah, well, at least give them a like on that comment, and they're talking back and forth. I don't know if they really necessarily want you to interject. If it's natural for you to do it, I absolutely would. I absolutely do join in the conversation anytime I possibly can. especially in an effort to keep it going. So almost all my comments are like a statement response to what they said, and then I ask a question or try to like prolong. Like I'm trying to keep that thread going for as long as possible. Tag 3 friends is a great call to action, by the way. So tag 3 friends that should hear this quote or meme or whatever. I don't know how we're doing on time, and I know people are leaving and stuff, so I know there's another. I know it wasn't my comedy, there's another meetup or whatever, right? Yeah, actually I do it in a 2-step, so I'll go through and like the comment once, and then later, because I want to show up in the notifications again, I'll go back later and comment. So I don't, a lot of people like and comment at the same time, but I'll spread it out. Yeah, so I show up in their notification more than once. Along those lines, talking about brands, what's interesting is a really great engagement strategy on Instagram is to go to other brands and start engaging in their comments with other people that are engaging with them. When you start engaging as a brand with somebody who's talking to another brand that's big enough or whatever that they're not responding to all the comments, people are like, who's this dude and why is he talking to me? Or who's this profile? And they'll come check you out. So if you're if you want profile views, then engage with people that are not getting responded to by other brands. Absolutely, it's my favorite tactic. One of them anyway. I guess I probably said that like 5 times. Go ahead. You don't? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I do know people that are getting in trouble. There are, right now with Instagram, I mean, I'm saying only use tools that are recommended. There's also even, you can get shadow banned or whatever by using hashtag, like there's just so much. So just follow the rules on Instagram. Because you can just spend the time to do it organically. I don't know if anybody else is using a bot and having success with it. I did up until like end of last year, and I've seen too many people that their reach it's already just happening naturally right now. They're tightening up some stuff in the algorithm. That I have a Facebook group of about 30,000 social media professionals. So when something like that happens, it's like every 2 days or every 2 times a day, somebody's going, my client's reach dropped. I had 300 likes last week, and this week, for months we were building, and now we're at 30. So I've had enough of those come into the group that everybody's feeling some kind of algorithm change happening. And the people that are feeling it the most, I believe, are people that were using growth bots. Yeah. Love it, and I wish people would ask me about it way more often. I love Pinterest. Pinterest works well for so many things. It is a visual search engine, so it works a lot like Google. People are going looking for ideas. The thing is that kind of like we were saying, like pick a platform, is that the content there is so unique to it that you don't really use it too much on the other platforms, that people don't focus on it. So what's the niche that you're in? It's e-commerce? In fashion? Yeah. So so you still want to think about this, like your content, you're still on a magazine level type with content. So you're still giving out information about how to, looks for summer, how to wear the scarf 8 ways, color trends, all of that, and producing content. But the funnel's still the same. So you can use quotes and memes first, boost that content. The next content is instructo and infographics. There's also the long presentation of this includes all the rest of the platforms as well to show you what they look like, but it's basically the same. So you'd start with a quote or meme, something very low commitment. Then you move to either an info or instructo graphic as one option. In the engagement content, and the other option is just your blog post title graphic if you want to drive traffic, right? So blog post title graphics in Pinterest drive traffic. Info and instructo graphics are for engagement. And and their ads manager is really grown. So we have a coffee brand right now on Pinterest that's doing really, really well. And all we did was we post coffee quotes about how everybody loves coffee, or every morning I need a coffee. I mean, it's every coffee quote you've ever heard, like, oh my God, it's Monday, I need coffee. We found one that just hit organically. Use hashtags on Pinterest. They've come back, they're really important. We just happened to get one that hit, so we boosted the shit out of it. We put a lot of money behind it, and it drove a lot of traffic for us to the site. So it's the same formula, it's just very vertical. Yeah, does that answer it for you? You know, I don't know. It's a little bit what I said here. People ask me, because right now, you know, Instagram is kind of like the horse to ride, but if you're willing to step out of what everyone else is doing, and it also kind of depends, I think, a little bit on your market. So if it's a little bit more mature, a little bit, instead of younger women, if it's younger, Instagram. It's not that they're not using Pinterest, but your better place is Instagram. And if they're a little bit older, like 35, 40 and up, I'd love Pinterest. I actually demonstrated it to this coffee client. They weren't listening to me, and my sister was sitting next to me, and she's 45, 46, and I just pop quizzed her. I was like, so do you have an Instagram account? She's like, yeah, I set one up, but it's only because you're on there. Do you have a Pinterest account? Oh my God, I'm on Pinterest all day, every day. I post my recipes. That's where I save all my. And so, you know, this coffee company that we're working with has it has a supplementation to it that is good for hormone balancing and all that stuff. And I'm like, so now which platform do you think we should be on, right? So that would be my answer on that. So if you're willing to take a bit of a risk, make a bit of investment that's maybe outside of what most people are telling you, I would, and if that's the right market, I would play on Pinterest. Yeah, yeah. More? Yes?
So you covered a lot of different possibilities for different types of businesses. What about events? I find that that's kind of a little bit different when you're trying to promote an event versus a theme.
I would put you in the local, because people have to leave, you know, I'm calling it local because people have to leave to go do it, or maybe they even have to fly, so I'd put you in there. It's still, so when you're doing an event, you get a whole bunch of content at once, because the event happens, and then you gotta just spread it out. You start with the golden nuggets, you move to the more enriching content, and then you retarget them with the offer, which is for tickets, you know? So it's still really the same formula, it's just that your call to action is different. And maybe if it just happens one time a year, is it an evergreen event? Are these evergreen events, or they're just one time and done?
Well, it's a combination. There's some that are biannual and then some that are seasonal.
Okay, yeah, so then when you're not in, like I mentioned, the people that do the fundraiser once a year, so they've got a campaign kit that is the 90-day, now we've created a campaign kit for the 90 days leading up to the event, and then they also have a procedure post-event for processing content, and then next year, 90 days before, they're gonna open that kit, but all the rest of the year, they're working on list building. Yeah. So for that particular event. So the call to action there is to get notified, you know, for the next event, and or producing some lead magnet type content like the ebooks or whatever, maybe doing some webinars with the speakers. So I've actually been here before with Social Media Week, Austin. 2 years ago they were here, and so Claire, who's the director of that, she provides opportunity to all of those speakers. It happens once a year. We do webinars once a month to our Social Media Pro community, so we keep speaker content going out, and we keep Social Media Week relevant to our audience by doing webinars with the speakers. Internet Marketing Party brings the speaker on after to do a webinar, so that people who were here, our members, weren't here, whatever, can see it. So maybe consider producing some of this content with video and stuff from the speakers, and getting them involved and helping keep it alive up until promo time. Yeah, is that helpful? Yay? No? All right, awesome. Thank you so much.